Welcome to the show. All Elite Wrestling presents Double or Nothing live Saturday, May 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. Buy now on VR Live.
What's up, Lance?
Hey, what's up? Sorry about the delay. I was trying to get it to work.
No, man, totally fine. It happens. It's a weird time during quarantine, so we got to figure things out as we go.
It's okay. I swear I'd followed you guys, and I was looking for it, and then I finally had just went on your actual site and found it. So I apologize. Sorry about that. I'm here now.
We're all good. So how have you been, first of all, during this strange time in the world? I know it's been a weird time to kind of figure things out.
I've been good, man. Spending time at home, family, friends, stuff like that. Spending a lot of time online, probably wearing out my unlimited time on through my Wi-Fi and whatnot. Luckily, I have my own little home gym, which you can kind of see I'm in right now, and that's kind of saved my sanity. Although I busted my nose yesterday, dropped the damn bar on my face, so it was all right.
Oh no, are you okay? I mean, obviously you busted your nose a little bit, but.
I'm a tough son of a bitch, so I'm okay.
Would you? I know you're already there. Would you mind just showing us around your gym a little bit?
Sure. It won't be a long tour because it's not very big. So
people just want some insight on what a pro wrestler's home gym looks like.
Well, luckily I kind of got in on all this stuff before the madness took off, because then everybody wanted to sell equipment, and they were selling it, price gouging as it is. And it's just a basic rack, have a basic bar set and whatnot, a little Bosa ball in the background, a little yoga mat. A shout out to Anytime Fitness. They hooked me up with some weights. They let me borrow some dumbbells and some kettlebells back there. Have my own little elliptical machine. It's nothing high quality, but it works. Have a nice tire outside. And, where is it? The sledgehammer going on right there. Go out there and beat the crap out of a tire. Do what I got to do, man. Take care of business.
That's awesome. No, I'm glad that you still have. We've talked to other people, other athletes, and they say, it's been a bit of a struggle for me to find things to work out with. So you've got to stop. You're good.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I was lucky. I had a lot of stuff already, and then, like I said, my local Anytime Fitness hooked me up. I contacted them, and they were like, absolutely, come grab some weights, and they let me bring them home, and I'll take them back to them when everything goes back to whatever sense of normalcy.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned just kind of using up your Wi-Fi. What have you been into? Have you been watching any Netflix, anything specific?
Yeah, I'm a Netflix guy, mostly when I'm doing my cardio, watching The Last Kingdom, which is a really cool show. Uhtred, son of Uhtred. And then, a lot of the Arrow and Flash and stuff like that. So those are kind of my go-tos for my cardio time.
That's great. So how's it been? Obviously, there haven't been much of a crowd at the AEW Dynamite shows. How's it been, you being a world traveler, having to adjust to not wrestling in front of fans?
What are you talking about, man? We got the best audience in the world. The Gun Club, Billy Gunn and Austin Gunn are out there every single time. So, it's one of those things, man. The cameras turn on. You know that there are millions of people watching at home, whether it's on TNT or Fight Network around the world. You do what you got to do. You perform. And I've been in this business almost 20 years, and I've my debut in this business ever back in July of 2000. I'm coming up on my 20th year here. I think there were 5 people out in the 104 Texas summer heat. It's one of those things you just kind of move forward. Sorry if my Wi-Fi sometimes pauses out on you there. I apologize.
Fine. So you mentioned AEW. You mentioned you've been doing this for a while. Recently joined AEW, and you've been on a tear since. I mean, it's crazy. One of those factors on you being in a tear is Jake Roberts. Can you talk about how you guys got together?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Jake and I we've been friends for a long time. I've known Jake for many, many years. Been around him on different independent shows here and there and everywhere. Traveled up and down the road a few times with him. And it's really cool right now to kind of see the awesome state of mind that Jake is in. Jake has had his, like everybody in some cases, has had his issues in the past and whatnot, and he's in an amazing place right now. And I think this actually gives him a positive focus and it's gone so well that I think it makes it even better for him, for me, for all of us. And then, the fact that he's kind of my mouthpiece, he's kind of my helping reintroduce the American audience to who I am and what I'm about. I've had my stints in the U.S., but it's been almost a decade since I was on any kind of regular U.S. television. And Jake, who's a legend in this business, a Hall of Famer, somebody that everybody from the history of this business knows and will listen to, and then his ability to cut promos, even in 2020, that just captivate anybody and everybody who's listening, watching. It only bodes well for me because it helps set me up in a way that, I know what I can do, and I know what I can do when I step in the ring, and he can speak for me in a way that I don't speak for myself in the same manner. I can get on the mic and I can do my thing, but it's a very, very different delivery. And when Jake delivers it, it's that cool, cunning, snake in the grass kind of feel that he gives. And, you're paying attention to it. So it gives a good yin and yang to our dynamic, to the combo that is Jake the Snake Roberts and the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer.
Absolutely. It's been one of the major storylines since you joined. So we had Cody on a couple weeks ago, and
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes. No, I said I'm sorry that you had Cody
on. Yeah, so he didn't have some particularly nice things to say about you. He just straight up said he didn't like you. Do you have a response to that? Do you feel the same way? Do you not like Cody?
It's one of those things. And so the story goes this far back. When they first did their first All In, I was a very big supporter of that. And I had no dog in that fight. I wasn't a part of the show, and I wasn't going to be a part of the show. But I saw the potential that All In, which ultimately led to a full-on AEW, had for the business of professional wrestling, for myself, for anybody that was out there that was trying to make a name for themselves. It was giving a new platform for fans and workers alike. And I tweeted out, and, like I said, you guys can go check my Twitter. I put it out there that I was in huge support of what they were doing and the potential it had for the business. And I heard from the other guys that I mentioned in the tweet. Cody was one of those guys, and Cody never responded to me. So it's one of those things, like, it takes 2 seconds to find somebody's number in this business, send them a message and say thank you. Or, I was around him at different times, whether it be in Japan or in the U.S., and at no point did he say, hey, man, thanks, I appreciate that. So, he says he just straight up doesn't like me. Well, guess what? Feelings mutual, Cody.
Do you remember anything about Cody in Japan?
No, not really. I was doing my own thing. I wasn't paying attention to what he was doing.
Okay. He said that all he really remembered about you was obviously you had your U.S. title run, but he didn't really remember anything other than the fact that you were a fellow Texan. So I didn't know if you had anything to say about that either.
Well, it's funny because, Cody wrestled in New Japan, 2-3 times, something like that. And, it wasn't very extensive. I was there for 8.5 years kicking ass with KES, and the last year with what I did in the G1, which speaks for itself. And so, if he didn't see or pay attention to what I was doing, it was because he had his head stuck up his own ass, and that's what was going on.
All right, fair enough. So going back to AEW, what would it mean to you to become the inaugural AEW TNT champion at Double or Nothing?
It's one of I keep saying it's one of those things. It's a really cool idea to be the very first TNT champion, to represent AEW on an all-new platform. AEW has already made its mark in the business of professional wrestling. It's going to continue to make its mark. It's going to continue to make the waves, and I'm in here making a new big wave. And becoming the first TNT champion is just going to kind of set that precedence of exactly what you're going to expect from the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer. I think a lot of people who were avid New Japan fans that are watching AEW know about me and what I was doing and what I can do, but there's a lot of new fans that this is their first experience to me and what I can do, and the combination of what Jake and I are and what we're going to do, carrying that TNT Championship for the first time and for a very long time, mind you. It's just going to set that precedence of that title of being a top-tier number one title that is going to be right on level with the AEW Championship.
Absolutely. Everyone can catch that match 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, May 23rd on BR Live at Double or Nothing.
Yep.
I did a little bit of research on you, and it just confirmed to me if what I'm saying is true. Were you a quarterback at Texas State?
I was one of many quarterbacks at Texas State, and I never threw one interception while standing on the sidelines.
Do you remember how many plays you actually participated in?
Yes, none.
Wow, really? You're like 6'7", right? 6'6". They never want to put you in the pocket?
Yeah, it was, so I started my first 2 years at a small university called Howard Payne University. And then I transferred to it's Texas State now. It was Southwest Texas State when I went there, SWT. And there were 7 quarterbacks when I went into camp. And I had a little bit of a medical problem while I was there. I had a pulmonary cyst that had to be removed during camp. So that slowed the process of everything. And then, just as they moved forward and I had to kind of step back because of the surgery and everything that was going on, football kind of fell aside as, it was something I really, really wanted to be a part of. Like I said, I started at Howard Payne, transferred to Texas State. But it just really didn't pan out. And that's probably a good thing because that's kind of what led me into professional wrestling.
Were you also a bouncer at a club while you played football there?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Were you also a bouncer at a nightclub while you played there?
Yeah, I was a bouncer at many nightclubs through football and through wrestling. Even when I was at my early days of TNA, I wrestled for TNA, but then I still went to the club that I worked at on the weekends because it was a cash job and it was an easy job, and I just stood at the front door and scared people and collected some money, and it was good work.
What's the craziest bouncer story you have?
Oh man, unfortunately, there's too many. I wasn't one of those like get in fight bouncers. I was more of the cooler guy. I would walk in and most people would chill out and they would just leave the club when I asked them. One of the craziest stories, I think we had this one night where it was in Dallas and we had a VIP table, and there was a group of guys at the VIP table and another group of guys that had come in, they kept walking by the table and eyeballing the guys and the girls that were at the table. And, sure enough, one thing led to another. Somebody said something to somebody, and then, it turns into a fight. But it's kind of in a small, confined area. And so, as we go in to break up the fight, I'm not a guy that's going in and throwing punches unless I just absolutely have to. I usually would just grab people and carry them out and do whatever. But there were so many guys, but they were really tiny dudes. They weren't very big guys, to say the least. And I would run up and I would grab one by the back of his shirt or his collar or whatever, and I'd literally just chunk him behind me and over the railing. And the crazy part is all these guys liked our club and they wanted to be able to come back to our club. So they weren't trying to fight us as the bouncers. They were just trying to fight each other. So I would grab these guys, throw them over my shoulder and out of the picture. They would come flying back over me to fight the guys that they were trying to fight with. Never once throwing a punch at me, which I thought was crazy, and I never got hit with anything, and there's always those unfortunate situations where guys get caught in that crossfire of a fight or whatever. But yeah, this was one of those, I literally just would grab one guy, chunk him over my shoulder, grab another guy, chunk him over my shoulder. And about that time, the first guy I threw over my shoulder was coming back over my head and hitting the guy that I just was trying to get out of there. And, ultimately we got the fight broken up, took one group out the front door or the other group out the back door. And, once we got them out of the building, that they were on their own, and if they chased each other down and did whatever, who knows. But like I said, yeah, they were literally just flying over my head trying to fight each other, and I was just grabbing them and chunking them as far as I could.
Well, they didn't want any problems with you. They just had problems with each other. So they're like,
yeah, they wanted to come back to the club the next night and hang out. So
it's so good. That's such a great story. I'm glad I know a little bit more about Lance Archer as the fans now. Speaking of the fans, are you ready for some fan questions?
Sure, let's shoot, man.
All right, let's do it. First question. Would you ever consider getting rid of the braids?
Would I ever consider? I mean, who knows, man? I've had a lot of different hairstyles over a few years. The braids came about while I was in the G1 this last year, because when I started the G1, I just decided I was going to kind of reinvent myself from image to personality to ring set, everything that I was doing. And the first haircut, if you saw the opening night in Dallas, was more of just a crazy poofed up mohawk, craziness and whatnot. And then I couldn't keep that up, and found the fan that was a hairdresser. She braided it up, and I loved it. So it stayed from that point on. So it's kind of a cool different haircut. So you never know. I might cut it at some point in the future, but I'm digging it right now.
What's your favorite AEW match that isn't one of your own?
Two guys that I haven't had a chance to step in the ring with that I really was interested in seeing, and I watched their match and would love to see more of, was Omega and Pac. Regardless of the fact that I've kicked Dustin's ass and I'm going to kick Cody's ass, their match last year was a really good one for AEW as a whole and wrestling fans as a whole. There's so many cool combinations from SCU. The Bucks, is one of the best tag teams in the business. Cool tag team division. The women that they have going on, it's top notch from top to bottom. But those are a couple of the matches that I've watched in the past and enjoyed. And, it's kind of fun seeing what Dustin and Cody did to each other, and then it was more fun getting to do what I did to Dustin and what I'm going to do on the 23rd to Cody.
If you were a tag team, who would you pick as your partner at AEW?
Oh, man. I don't know. It's still kind of a learning process and seeing who might fit the mold that is the Murder Hawk Monster and Jake the Snake Roberts. So, who do you think? You have an opinion on that?
You don't seem to like many people at AEW from what I've seen at Dynamite. I truly don't know.
That's because I've got a goal in mind. And right now, everybody's a victim and in the way. Victims, aren't they all?
Yeah. Everybody dies, right?
Right, yes.
Have you considered acting or movies?
Yes. I did a short thing on... it was called the Duplex Suplex Complex. It was on not Comedy Central. Yeah, maybe Comedy Central. It was one of their late night infomercial type shows. It was a group of guys that were supposed to be wrestlers that lived in a duplex, and I was one of the guys who was pretty insane. Fun fact, I was actually almost Leatherface when they did the remake in the early 2000s, the Jessica Biel ones. So quick story that they cast the part. The guy they cast got hurt. I had actually gone in and done just like an initial casting because they wanted 6'5" or taller. I didn't get the part initially. The guy that got the part initially, the first day of shooting, hurt his back. They called me. I just moved to Dallas, and they filmed this in Austin, Texas. I just moved to Dallas, and they're like, hey, can you come down for another audition? Here's the situation. I said, sure. And I drove down to Austin. Like, I was in the audition office about 4.5 hours after they called me. The director came in. He saw me in the mask because they were really trying to fit the mask without having to make a new one. He asked me what I did. I told him about wrestling and the bouncing. He was like, so you could throw people around and drag people around? I was like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, as far as he was concerned, I had the part. They put me in the full costume. I had the chainsaw one time outside swinging it around. They took me up to the executive producers, and, they kind of molded over. Well, earlier on in the day, Andrew Benarski, who ultimately ended up getting the part, he and I were sitting there talking, and he was telling me about how he'd gone to the WCW power plant way back in the day. And we were just chit-chatting. And at one point during my interview process, he walked in and saw me in the costume. He just saw me, closed the door, and left. I didn't think anything of it. The director, like I said I had the part. The people were telling me, give us a couple days. We'll send you the shooting schedule and all the contracts and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, cool. I went home. 2 days later, nothing. 3 days later, nothing. 4 days later, nothing. So I finally called them and was like, hey, you guys said y'all were going to call me in a couple days with all the particulars. And they're like, nobody called you? And I was like, no, nobody called me. What are you talking about? They're like, yeah, they gave the part to Andrew. And then I ended up seeing Andrew and a few guys on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, probably a week or so later. And I was talking to the guys, Andrew was out in front of us, and we were walking somewhere, and the guys were like, yeah, Andrew saw you in the costume and went and complained to the executive producer. And the executive producer, the EP on that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was the same EP from Pearl Harbor, which Andrew was in. He was in the bare knuckle boxing scene with Cuba Gooding Jr. at the very beginning of the movie. So he went and complained that they wasted his time and all this stuff, and so they gave him the part. And I was like, you guys are dumb, because A, y'all would have paid me a lot less, and B, I'd have been a lot less of a pain in the ass, because from my understanding, he was again, I don't know for sure, but he was not very cordial for most of the filming.
Wow, that blew my mind. I mean, Lance Archer, I would have never made that connection, but that is a great little Easter egg that you just gave us.
Yeah, I saw him. I think a year later in the nightclub. He was in Austin again. I went and talked to him, and I was just, "Hey man, you're back in Austin. You're filming another movie." He's like, "Oh yeah, we're filming the prequel to the Texas Chainsaw." I wanted to boot him out of the chair when he said that.
You should have tossed him around like you tossed those other guys.
Yeah, he's a big dude, So, and I'm sure he'd have probably tried to sue me because he's one of those guys.
That's so good. What's your favorite match that you've been a part of, and a favorite match that you have watched? I guess that could be AEW, but it could be overall ever. I'm coming up on 20 years in this business. I've had some amazing, cool matches. I had a match with Abyss back in 2005 at the original Sacrifice, and it was a really fun, cool, amazing match because it was two big men doing stuff that people didn't really expect from big men. Fast forward to my New Japan stuff, working at Wrestle Kingdom my first time, where KES went in and defended our tag titles, and I got to drive a Harley into the Tokyo Dome, to even this last year, wrestling, defending the U.S. Championship against Mox in the Tokyo Dome, and then getting to debut in AEW and do Marco Stunt, but tossing Marco Stunt's ass all around the ring from corner to corner in ways that I don't think anybody expected, and then getting to step in the ring with Dustin, who Dustin and I had wrestled, almost 11 years prior to that. And then for him and I to be able to go do what we did in the environment that we did it, was just really cool and special to me, so it's been a really cool run in this whole business of professional wrestling. And then if you want to talk just fan-wise, you're watching, I fell in love with wrestling when Sting was doing the whole Crow persona. And, when he had that run of not wrestling for a year, and that he finally had that match with, Hulk Hogan on Nitro and everything, because I didn't get to watch the pay-per-view match. It was just, for me as a fan, just remember just not being able to sit down and geeking out the whole time when he won the championship, just freaking out and losing my mind, so it was just as a fan, that was a cool memory. That's great. Last question for you. How do you defeat Cody at Double or Nothing?
I put my foot through his face and put his head through the mat, and then I pin him with the EBD claw as I bash his skull into the ground. Then I'm the TNT Championship. It's pretty simple.
Say no more. That's good enough for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. Double or Nothing, May 23rd at 8 p.m. Everyone order on BR Live if you want to watch. Lance, I believe that you and Jake will be saying something on tonight's Dynamite, if I'm correct. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah. Everybody should tune in and hear what we have to say on Dynamite tonight, because Brandy, she got the old Damien last week, and this week she's gonna wish that she didn't hear what we have to say.
Oh, that's a nice little teaser. All right, well, thank you, Lance, so much. Have a great day. Stay safe. I know it's weird times. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Everybody dies.